Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. In this episode, we're headed back up to Queensland to take a look at the Queensland Team Series. So this was the Jacob's Well round, which was held on June 17 and sponsored by Baramba Lures. Anyway, let's roll the intros and we'll get straight into it. Here we go.
Welcome to the Bream Fishing Project. This is where you need to be every Tuesday to find out all the latest tips and tricks to help you target bream on lures. You'll get to hear from some of Australia's elite bream competition anglers and see how they were able to achieve their results in competitions around the country. Now, here's your host, the 2019 Hobie Kayak Fishing World Champion, Andrew Deeth.
All right, so as I record this, there's a fair bit going on. We're all starting to get to the pointy end of the season where we've got grand finals and Australian championships and what have you coming along. Still a couple of rounds to go. The first Saturday of the long weekend, which will be the AFT Botany Bay round. I can't wait to have a crack at that. We've also gone back down to Malakuta with the Hobie boys to catch up on the round that got postponed. So for me, that was a good one because I wasn't able to go to it before and now I can. So how good is that? In other news, the Bream Fishing Project Collective has just hit full speed. We had our first live. As I record this, the first live was last night. It was a great little turnout. We had a good chat and we've got a plan going forward. If you do want to be part of that, you can still do it. There's going to be a catch-up video up on for those who are subscribed. I'll have that up as soon as I can. Anyway, let's get into this episode. We'll do the bite periods and what have you, and then we'll get into the interviews. Looks like I've got 4 groups of interviews. How good is that? Here we go. All right. So this was held on the 17th of June. We had a major bite period at 5 a.m. through to 7:30 with a minor bite period at 11:40 a.m. through to 1:10 p.m. Low tide was at 9 a.m. even at 0.53 with a high tide at 3:33 at 1.34. Interesting thing about this round is the top, I think 7 teams were separated by about 500 grams. So really tight at the top. It was a great little comp and good to see Chris and Jacob getting up. Anyway, let's roll into the angler interviews. Here we go. All right, everybody. So coming in a 4th place by the narrowest of margins, dropping 5 fish for 3.31. I have Matt Fraser and Sam Peck. Welcome to the show, guys.
G'day. How you going?
Yeah. I was pretty happy to talk to both of you, and as many people will know, Matt's the name and the guy behind Baramba Lures, so I'm looking forward to getting into that at the back end of the interview. And likewise, Sam, it was good to see you. I see you popping up on Facebook all the time, so I'm pretty happy to be having a quick chat. So for you guys, you had a nice little competition down there at what was meant to be Jacob's Well, but turned out to be Paradise Point. Let's start with the pre-fish. Did either of you get out for a pre-fish?
Yeah, I got out for a pre-fish on the Friday. It was up in the bay area around a couple of the islands, and I was doing a bit of lure testing as well. But yeah, as it turned out with that location change, yeah, we went the other way altogether. So yeah, didn't fish where we ended up fishing at all.
Right. And how'd you go in the bay? Did you get any, or did the new lures work out?
Yeah, got quite a few fish. Didn't really get the size or anything that would have been competitive up there, though. It was much fatter fish and more fish on the Goldie than what there was in the bay from what I found on that pre-fish day.
Okay. And Sam, prior to the event, mate, when were you last out?
I did some fishing on the lead up to the Queensland Open. I did a few days before the pre-fish ban, before the event banned, and then obviously fished the event and did a lot of fishing out of the Paradise Point.
Yeah, okay. So leading into the comp for both of you guys, what was your plan in terms of lures, or what sort of structure and stuff were you planning on hitting?
Well, pretty much like it was Sam's boat, and Sam's the skipper and team captain. So we pretty much didn't even make the call to driving out. Where did we, Sam? Like it was pretty much, well, where are we going to go?
Yeah, we sort of spoke during the week, like we were going to go to the bay because we thought that might be good. But then, like, I think it was that morning we decided to change the plan and go to the Gold Coast Seaway, and we pretty much spent all day there. It was just on.
Okay. All right. Let's get into it. tell us how you guys went about catching fish and how they came.
Oh, I'll throw it to Sammy.
Go on, Captain.
Yeah, so we just sort of fished the seaway wall in the Broadwater there. We started with plastics down the edges of the walls, and that seemed to be the best thing all day. We didn't really change and rotate too many baits. Normally, like a cranky crab's good there, but it seemed to be like plastics were what they wanted all day. I think they were spawning pretty heavily, and then there was just one section of wall that we sort of just kept drifting down, and we just kept catching fish. So it was just one of those things. You just sort of sort through them, and they were there.
Right. How were you doing it? Were you sort of casting right in tight and then bouncing them down the rock walls, or how'd that look?
Yeah, Sam was fishing them in a lot more. I've actually I GoPro'd the whole day and did up a video, and it's on the Brambaloo's YouTube channel. And actually tallied the fish and everything. Well, I think I've missed a few on film, but Sam basically got the first 5, and in 2 drifts we had the bag plus 2 upgrades by 8 o'clock, and that's including the travel time from 7 o'clock start.
Wow.
So it was on early and Sam was fishing in closer, like fishing more toward the rocks. I was fishing out deeper and wider a little bit more, and I got 4 dewies.
Nice.
And a few brim. But yes, Sam, especially early, he was getting them up closer and up higher. And I was just, I hadn't done much deep water stuff for a while. So I was, getting the hang of it. I spent a lot of time rigging up. You can see from the video footage, I'm sitting in the seat retying while Sam's getting another one.
Yeah.
But it was on, until that tide slowed right down. Then it went a bit quiet on the tide chain.
Okay. So, Sam, you were throwing in tight. What sort of lure weights and what plastics were you throwing?
Yeah, so I had a 1/8 bait junkie jig head and one of the new Berkeley Gulp grubs, and that was just in their motor oil sort of colour. And I think Matt was using the pumpkin seed one a little bit later on in the day. But it was just sort of casting in. In the mornings, we were catching heaps really close to the wall, like a couple of hops down the wall, and you'd get a bite. Later on in the day, Matt started just smashing them out a little bit wider of the wall, sort of mixed in dewies there. There was a few dewies out wider of the wall. There's also a mixture of good brim in there. I think we sort of chose the right wall to be on too, because there was 2 other competitors on the other side, and we didn't see them catch too many fish early. So I think we might have just jagged it and just got lucky on the right side of the wall.
Okay, and do you put that down to current flow or wind, or any reason why the fish might have been congregated in one area rather than another?
I'm not sure, because that's normally the harder wall to fish, because you get most of the bait fishermen fishing off it.
Okay.
So you can't get a good drift down it. There's normally too many line in the water.
Yeah.
I'm not too sure. There was schools of mullet swimming up and down the wall, and we saw a few of them. I'm not too sure. That was where they were.
Okay. And throughout the day, so you said you started shallower in the morning, more or less, and then maybe a little bit deeper in the afternoon. Was there a pattern to where the bigger fish were?
No, it was we're just sort of filtering through them. Like, started off with, 27s, 28s, 29s, and then, from then we were just, once we had the bag, it was pretty hard. We're just upgrading every so often with a bigger one. So it was no pattern of getting them all early or anything.
Yeah.
But it was just all on that run out, the last of that run out for a few hours. Once that tide slowed, it got tough, and we got a couple more after it changed. And I think at about 12, we ended up heading into the canals and trying to fish canals just for something different.
Yeah, okay.
But Sam caught plenty of fish, but we couldn't upgrade. We didn't end up upgrading. We had an opportunity right at the end on the last cast.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to tell them about that one, Sam?
Oh, yeah, it's still
hurts?
That sucked. It was like last pontoon, and we even said last pontoon, and we were just sort of crankbaiting them. I pulled a small one out, and the boat was sort of nosed in behind the pontoon, so the fish was right in front of Matt, and we both watched it pull. Like a bigger one came out and pulled the crankbait out of the mouth of the smaller one.
Wow. And
then we hooked the bigger one, and then it sort of went down underneath the pontoon and then just fell off.
No. No.
we probably would have won the comp with that fish. It was, but it was pretty crazy and funny, and yeah, and we didn't have a net either for the whole comp. So,
What's going on there?
I'd been fishing for dewies like leading up to the comp, and then I put the bigger net in and forgot to put the small brim net in or back in.
Oh no!
So we were doing it on net all day.
Fair enough. Well, it does happen. One more or a couple more things before we move off the fishing. What was your bag like? Was there any standouts, or were they all sort of 600 grammers?
There's a couple of bigger ones, like a couple of 650s, but no big standout one. But yeah, they're all like 600 to 700s, I suppose, or 550s to 700.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's a shame because that one upgrade, if you upgrade the lower one, you're probably going to make it. So, ouch.
Yeah.
That's what we needed, a kicker all day.
Yeah.
Never mind.
I thought I had a kicker a few times. They turned out to be dewies.
Yeah, right. What size dewies you get up there?
Oh, they were just sort of 50 to 60 centimetres.
Yeah, okay.
So just enough for you to think maybe this is a brim.
Maybe. It could be a cracker.
Yeah.
Fair enough. All right. So if you're throwing cranks, were you throwing the Baramba cranks? Is that what you were using?
Yeah, we got a couple on the Detonator 38, the Baramba Detonator 38 around bridges and pontoons. Sam was throwing a couple of other cranks as well, just because he had them all set up and tuned up, ready to go.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for anyone that's not familiar with this lure is a little bit special. Do you want to just explain what the Detonator 38 is and why it's special?
Yeah, well, it's pretty similar to most other cranks, 38 mils long. It's got a slightly deeper body than a normal sort of chubby profile and a bit slim on the sides. But the main feature of it is it's got a chin eyelet on it. You can put a chin weight or chin nut on it. So you basically, out of the packet with the chin nut that comes with it, it'll suspend. And then if you want it to be a floating lure, if you're fishing really snaggy stuff, you want it to float up off the rocks and stuff, you can take that chin eyelet off. But you can actually put heavier ones on it and then fish it around that reefy stuff, more like fish it down deep, actually fish it as a sinking crank. So I haven't done a lot of that. Maybe at the next one we'll get a chance to do a bit more of that. But yeah, it's just got a few different options for a crank. But just as a standard crank, it works really well. It also tunes really well by adjusting the eyelet. It can swim really good left or right, which is fantastic around boats and pontoons. So you can, fish them shallow or fish them mid or fish them deep. Yeah. And they're also a fantastic flathead trolling lure as well. A bit of an all-rounder.
Yeah, okay. And you said it's got a narrower body. Was there any particular reason for that?
Just a bit more of a shad profile type lure, the whole detonator range. I've got 4 detonators in the range, 38, a 48, a 58 and a 68 mil. And they've all got the same profile. It's that more of a bony brim, herring, shad type profile lure to them. But in the 38, it's not as thin as some of the others, and it casts really well. It's got a casting weight in it, and it casts really well as well. Yeah, so it's a good little all-rounder.
Yeah, very, very good. I've used it a bit, and I do like being able to change the chin weights and make it sink. If you put a heavy one on it, which you buy separately, you can make it sink really fast, which is an awesome feature, as well as take it into the racks and take the weights off and have it float back up out of the nasty stuff.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. All right. Well, guys, that was enough to put you in 4th place. Just 10, it looks like 10 grams behind. What did you guys get to take home anything for 4th place?
No, we just missed out on, I think the money went to 3rd in this one.
Fair enough.
So we've had 2 6th and then a 4th. So we're working our way through. But it was an enjoyable day. Like they're just fun, really fun series and sociable. And I'm only just getting back into it. So it's good to fish with Sam, who's a bit of a gun, and learn a heap off him and get a feel for it all again. Going back to fishing 6 pound, 4 pound leaders and stuff.
Yep.
I used to do a lot of brim fishing 10 to 15 years ago. Just enjoying getting back into it.
Yeah. And has it changed much? Has the scene changed much, do you think?
Oh, it's definitely just refined. And I don't know. I haven't done enough. I haven't done actual ABT yet. But yeah, the fishing's still pretty similar, and still fishing gulps in deep water and cranks. So yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's all the technology of rods and reels and lines and leaders is probably just advanced a little bit, and obviously the boats and everything it's advanced as well. But yeah, it's the same. They're the same fish, and they do the same thing. That's good fun.
Fair enough. All right, I reckon that's a pretty good rundown. So usually this is a part we say, is there anyone you want to give a shout out to? But just in lieu of that, how about you tell us about what's going on with Baramba Lures before we shoot off?
Yeah, well, I'm actually sort of stepping up with the Bream side of the lures. I'm doing the 38 crank. I sort of just, because I've been doing cod lures a lot for the last few years, and I love my barra and flatty fishing, so doing those sort of lures. But I did the 38 crank, but it's just sort of opened my eyes up at how big of a market the Bream market is, and I'm enjoying getting back into it. So I've gone and developed, a top water stick bait, a 64 mil, a little hard vibe that's 38 mil as well. I've got a soft plastic coming as well. So after, this is only 6 weeks away at Gold Coast Trade Show, I've got those, and also I'm doing a fat detonator that's deeper.
Right.
It's going to be around 6 grams in weight, so it's cast like a bull. It's got a big cast weight in it.
Yeah, nice.
And it should be able to hit sort of 2.5 meters, I'm hoping. So, yeah, for that deep cranking stuff, hopefully that's something. And it's also big for the bass guys as well. I was surprised how many people fish the Detonator 38 for bass. I thought it was be too small for bass, but yeah, there's been a lot of guys fishing it for bass. So it's the Detonator 38 DF, the deep fatty. It's going to tick a few more boxes for the crankbait stuff. So yeah, I'm pretty excited about doing Bream stuff again and really enjoying getting back into it.
If you've found the bass guys are using these a little bit, are they using them with heavy weights and sort of slow cranking across the bottom or twitching across the bottom?
No, they're mainly just using them as cranks, and just with that, and almost like a jerk bait as well, with that chin eyelet to suspend. So they're around weed beds as well as around structure and stuff. So they're using them as a suspending crankbait or jerk bait. So no one's really done a lot of stuff with them, fishing them deep yet. Like no one sort of, or if they're doing it, they're keeping it quiet because I'm not hearing about it.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
That's a bunch of stuff to look forward to coming out at AFTA. All right, is there anything else, guys, before we head off?
No, I think that's it.
Perfect. All right, well, it was great to talk to you both. Thanks again. And hopefully we'll get to talk to you after the weekend that's coming up if you're fishing.
Cheers, Andrew.
Awesome.
Okay, fishing.com.au, your one-stop bream lure and tackle shop. Pick up the latest bream tackle, including Muscle Vibes, Cranker Crabs, OSB Bent Minnows, Z-Man Plastics, Eco Gear Lures, and Daiwa Rods, Reels and Tackle. Same-day shipping, shop where the world champion, the Australian champion, and the current ABT champion shops. Fishing.com.au, online or in-store at shop 18/29 Kiora Road, Miranda. Now, something that's been front of mind for me in the last couple of weeks is fluorocarbon leader and straight through. So the couple of ones that I'm liking at the moment is the Daiwa J-Thread Finesse FC Spinning. I'm using the 3-pound in that. Now, honestly, the first time I put on the spool, I actually didn't like it first trip, but it seemed to settle down after that and cast really well, paired up with a in-feet rod. I can't remember the model name. Anyway, that was really good. The other one that I like is the Seaguar R18 Fluoro Hunter Tact. I don't understand the name, but that is a really great fluorocarbon. It has virtually no memory. So if that's something you're looking for, definitely jump on that at fishing.com.au. All right. So up next in third place, dropping 5 fish for 3.32 kilos with a big fish of 874 grams. I've got Harry Schofield and Stuart Kenny. Welcome to the show, guys.
Good to be here.
Hey, how are you?
Hey, we're good. It's not been too long since I've chatted to Harry, and I'm nice to meet you, Stuart.
Great to meet you. Great to be on.
Well, there you go. All right. This was an interesting little comp. It was between fourth place and first place. We had 3.31 in fourth and 3.53 in first. So not a lot between these teams.
No, it was tight comp. Yeah, everyone had similar conditioned fish, similar size fish. There was I'm at top 5 all over 3 kilo. Was it top 5 over 3 kilo?
Yeah. I've got the top 4 in front of me, but probably. So,
yeah.
So, yeah, but such a small number, like 200 grams or 220 grams separating fourth to first. So, one upgrade.
Oh yeah, one better fish than what you had, and then you're in front of the next bloke.
Yeah. All right. So tell us now, I think from our discussions, Harry, you kind of did a little bit of pre-fish. Do you want to tell us what you did in preparation in terms of that for the comp?
Yeah, of course. My pre-fish was just a few weeks prior. We had the ABT Bream Queensland Open. I did a podcast with you a few weeks back on that one. That was essentially my pre-fish of that one, and then I did have a smaller comp in the middle of these two events. It was the BTA comp, the Bream Tournaments Australia. It's just a small local comp. That was out of Paradise Point as well.
Yeah, right.
Didn't do too great. Weighed mid 2 kilo, but I got the big bream at 8 something. I fished in a different section where I fished both the comps, which told me not to fish there.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so that was essentially my pre-fish, was that the Queensland Open and that BTA round.
All right, and you didn't fish with Stuart, so who'd you fish with?
Yeah, I fished with my girlfriend Dominique, which was cool. It was her first bream comp. She didn't catch anything. Don't tell anyone I told you that. She didn't catch anything, but she had a great day on the boat. It was awesome.
Yeah, and look, sometimes it's like that. Very good. All right, so leading into the competition, what do you guys have tied on?
I had all crankbaits. My previous Queensland Open day, I found out pretty quick that it was a crankbait bite. So I had 6 rods with crankbaits, I think.
Right. Okay. Stuart?
Yeah, knowing how Harry fishes a lot of those pontoons head first, I was kind of sitting back there trying to pick off any stragglers. So I had absolutely everything else tied on just to work out if I could find anything, from top water all the way down to subsurface plastics to I even had a drop shot tied on as well.
Right. And look, to be fair, bream's not your number one species. What do you normally chase?
I am normally a freshwater bass guy, but I also dabble in a fair bit of inshore snapper and dewy stuff as well around Brizzy.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So there's just a little bit left field. But yeah. All right. Let's lead into comp day. Tell us how your guys' day went in terms of catching fish. Did you come early or late? And did you miss any?
Yeah. So the original canal that I wanted to fish, we didn't get to in time. So I got this little shortcut over to this canal, which is on a real shallow sandbank, but still that going over there wasn't quick enough. As I was peeling straight towards that canal, Bernard Kong just beat me to it by 5-10 seconds.
Yeah.
It's a smaller system. It's a one entrance in, one entrance out. It's a smaller system. It doesn't really handle 2 boats well. So I was like, Bernie was there first, so I left it to him and just went to the next set over, which ended up working pretty well. So that was I think it was Shearwater Canals I think we ended up in, which is just a set of canals on the Gold Coast Broadwater there. Launching from that Paradise Point makes it pretty easy because it's only like a 2-minute run around the corner.
Yeah.
In your boat.
In my boat, yeah, 2-minute run. So it's really easy to get to all those canals on the Gold Coast there.
All right. And so once you got there, what was it like? Was it an early bite or a late bite?
It was a bit slow for the first half hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then it was like a bite all day. The first half hour, I struggled to get a fish into the boat, but the fish that we were seeing was insane. I've fished this canal quite a few times in the past. I've done quite well in previous comps, but I've never seen that quality of fish in that canal ever. We probably put eyes on 6-7 kilo plus bream in just the first half an hour on the first stretch.
Really?
And they were annoying. You'd see them and they wouldn't spook and they'd follow your lure and they'd eat your lure and they'd drop it and then they'd disappear. No matter what you did, you couldn't get one to fully commit.
Right.
I had one carp. The best I had is he tasted it and then disappeared. It was frustrating, but I got nightmares still about those size of fish that we saw in that canal. It was nuts.
That's insane. All right. So after that, when did the fish start to come?
So it was, I find in canals, especially with the crankbait bite, your sun's got to come up a little bit, so the fish actually start to see your lure. I've never really done too crash hot, especially in the colder months when the sun isn't up enough and you can't quite see much. Because, being in the canals, you're surrounded by houses, so there's not much natural light coming in. So it does get quite dark. In summer, perfect. You want no light, essentially. You want, shade, nothing. But in the winter time, I do find that little bit of light is the best.
Right.
Warms them up, puts the bait moving as well, gets the bait a little less sedentary.
Okay. So then what crankbaits were you throwing?
So I changed it up a little bit from the Queensland Open, just, because Stewie and we had no intentions of doing well in this comp. It was just hey, Stewie, I've got no non-boater. You want to fish with me sort of thing. So we were just out there to have a good day. So I was throwing the same Durarealis 52 that I was running in the Open, but I was also running the Rapala XR06 in silver and olive green color, which is a 60 mil shallow diving jerkbait, which is most commonly used for trout.
Okay.
It performed really well too. I've used it a heap for bass, but seeing how Harry works that jerk quite erratically, it's really responsive to that, and being a lure designed for trout and fast water, it actually adapted to how Harry was fishing that current and quite fast excellently. It was true, it was straight, and switching between the both, he picked off fish pretty much the whole day with both.
Okay.
It was equal. I was in 2 or 3 different types of crankbaits, and they were just on crankbait, so it didn't really matter what crankbait you were throwing, as long as it was the right lure to get to the right place and to hold it there and the right amount of flash, they'd find it and eat it.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, do you want to explain that? Like, if you were fishing the pontoons, how were you working? How were you approaching a pontoon and making it happen?
Yeah, so it's very similar, well, if not the same, as my technique in the Queensland Open, is I detune the lures so it swims to a certain side by just twisting the front eyelet where your front split ring's on. So you twist it to the right to make it go right, twist it left to make it go left. I'd crank to the right-hand side. So I twist it enough that it doesn't blow out immediately, but it gets, you can track it and move it to the right, and then it starts to blow out once you get to the pontoon. With the XR06, because it's quite a narrow and long lure and doesn't have the biggest bib on it, you can't really get it to blow out as you can with the other styles with bigger bibs. So it was more of a kind of like a rip and stop, but not really. It was like more of a jerking traditional movement than an actual getting it to blow out into the pontoon.
Yeah.
So it was just like a fleeing little prawn or bait fish in the faces of the pontoon is what I fish.
Yeah, right. Okay. And on the day the fish were responding, was it consistent throughout the day, or do they come in a flurry in the morning, or how'd that look?
No, we're getting, I was probably getting 10 fish an hour sort of thing. It was, it was one of those days, 8 to 10 fish an hour. Well, sometimes 5 pontoons, you catch 5 fish.
Yeah.
It varied in that sense, but the bite did vary as far as sometimes I'd go down to a slow wind. Sometimes it was an aggressive twitch all the way back to the boat. Sometimes it was a twitch and pause halfway to the boat.
Mm.
And the twitch and pause I found did work on that big fish. That big fish did come on that XR06 in the olive green color, and it was the oddest bite. It was like a soft plastic bite, but with a hard body. So it was you're tuning out up along a moored boat on the front of somebody's pontoon, cast in, twitch it up underneath the boat, and then I'll just pause it there, just like you're floating a plastic under the pontoon. And then I was just watching my line go tick, 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 just as they grabbing a plastic. And then I wound in, there was that 870-something gram fish.
Mm.
No, the big difference between that while I was watching at the back was the Rapala actually suspends a lot truer than the Duo. So we could just sit it there, whereas a Duo would float up and kind of bump into the boat hulls or whatever, which works well when you're under it. But when you've got that jerkbait just sitting there, I think it just tricked a few of those bit more wary fish into picking it up as it just sat there drifting with the current.
Yeah, it's interesting because while you were talking, I had a look at the Rapala because I couldn't remember what it was, and they're a really nicely built lure. Like they just look great.
Yeah. I originally bought a few to fish the ABTs down in Malankuta in Gippsland, and that's when I first used them, was at the beginning of the year, and I was just slow rolling them on the sand flats, just how, or jerking as they go for the black brim. That was the second or third time I've actually thrown them for yellowfin in that particular style.
Yeah.
And it was great. Yeah, it was fantastic.
Yeah, okay.
I actually use them a lot for bass, so knowing how they do swim, and the larger brethren for barra I've used for 10 plus years. So cracking lure and knowing how they respond, especially to that rip stop, is, it was cool to see Harry modify that to brim and obviously do quite well on it.
Yeah, and how do they go in the fresh water? Do they suspend or they slow sink?
They suspend quite well. Sometimes just depends on the lure, I guess, because what I find with most of the lures in the fresh is they'll all, even in the same brand, slightly be different.
Yeah.
So whether it's adding a split ring, taking a split ring off, slightly making the hooks lighter, for barra you're often upgrading the hook. So yeah, it kind of all just depends on the water temp in the fresh and I guess, how clear it is, how dirty it is.
Sure.
Is the main factors for that. And normally in fresh, I want it to be stopped dead in the water.
Yeah.
Probably a bit more so than bream.
Fair enough. All right. In terms of numbers for the day, Harry, how many do you reckon you punched through?
It would have been over 30 fish. It would have been easily. You get a few of those, the squeakers, you get just the tippers. But majority of them were that legal size fish, that 26 to 28 tip.
Yeah.
The first up our bag consisted of those 28 tippers. And I was, a bit worried at the start. I'm like, I've got canal full of fish, but where are the big ones? The big ones gone in the morning. But the big ones probably came around that. It would have been 9:30, 10 o'clock once I changed up into a different arm, because we pushed a little bit further into that canal and it got real dirty. And I hate fishing dirty water with a passion. I love, as clean water as I can. Clean and fast flowing water is my favorite. I just find that fish are more comfortable. The fish are still in the dirty water up in the back. You get those residential ones. But I was targeting those pre-spawn / staging fish, because you're only fishing really close to the seaway. So and they do like to hang in that cleaner water.
Yeah.
So once we did find that cleaner water again, and the wind picked up a little bit more, that's when the bigger ones came in. Started chewing.
Right. So you were saying sort of 9:30, 10 o'clock. So your low tide, as I have it here, was 9 a.m. even.
Yeah. So just as that run-in started. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So that could have been another factor.
Oh, 100% it was, because I did notice that the water went still, and I hate the feeling of still water, no wind, dirty water. It's just, it makes me feel yuck. So always hunting down that cleaner, faster flowing water. So yeah, that turn on the tide with those bigger fish, definitely, that makes sense.
Okay. All right. And aside from the disappointment of seeing all the big ones in the beginning of the day, did you drop any that would have made a difference?
I got railed by a massive mangrove jack. Stuart would have remembered that one. It was a twitch, and I lost about half my spool in 2 seconds. That was a big fish. Yeah, I could not stop it. I lost a good lure that day. But the big fish. I don't think I think I might have dropped one decent one that we probably could have used, but it's hard to say when you don't see them. And there is a lot of missed opportunities with that crankbait and bream, because you do get a lot of follows and not a lot of commits. So you do see a lot of fish that are more interested in looking than they are eating. And no matter what you do, you can't get them to eat.
Yeah.
If somebody knows how to get them to eat on a crankbait like that, let me know.
Yeah.
Because after the years I've done it, I still can't get them to figure it. To eat.
To eat. Yeah.
Sometimes.
Well, that is the trick, mate. That is the trick. Knowing when to stop, when to twitch, when to rip.
Yeah.
It's hard to know.
Exactly.
All right. Was there anything else we should talk about in terms of sort of where you fished or what you did?
No, it was pretty just a straightforward canal day for me, really. It has its ups and downs. On that low tide, definitely is that slower fish activity. Like everyone says, no run, no fun. That is definitely the case for canals. You might think that canals are stagnant water fishery. And yes and no. In the back in the rain, sometimes that non-flowing water can produce fish, but these canals that are really close to the seaway there, and especially this time of year where, like I said, you got those staging / spawning fish, they do need that clean, fast-flowing water, which you can find generally on all parts of the tide.
Yeah,
it does take a bit of moving and knowing what's going on. This canal that we were fishing has a big drain in the back of it, which is an overflow from like a parkland / road. So when it's like raining, I think it was raining a couple of weeks before, which is why the back part of that system was dirty.
Sure.
Which the first canal that I wanted to go to, there's only one drain in it, and it's not an overflow. It's more like a gutter system, so it does clean up pretty quickly. But this being a bigger canal than the one I previously wanted to fish, it doesn't clean out as quickly. It takes a few more tides.
Sure. Fair enough. All right. I reckon that covers the fishing. We've covered the lures. What about lines and leaders? What were you guys running for the day?
My line and leader was very similar to, if not the same, to what I was using at the Open. Was that Suffix Aggie P.4 braid with a 8-pound leader. I think I was running with just a 6'6", light spin rod. I was using the Omen 13 Fishing.
Oh, yeah.
It's a really good rod. It's the best way to describe it, similar to the Miller Rod Brawler. Got a lot of backbone, but a lot of tip.
Yeah.
So you don't drop hooks with it, and you still have a lot of power to extract those bigger fish that you do come across in those canals on those crankbaits, and then just a 2500 size reel.
Nice. And Stuart, what's your choice for rod and reel sort of thing?
I mean, what I was doing there, I was using one of my ACM custom rods, the 4 to 8 pound, 7 foot, built on a North Fork blank.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of that drop shot style blank. And I was throwing actually the Fishcraft soft bent minnow at the back was what I ended up getting my fish on.
Nice.
The only way I could get them to eat, I had everything else tied on, but fishing that with 10-pound leader, if I had my time again, I'd probably have tied on mono, so I'd just float a bit better.
Yeah, okay.
Higher.
Yeah.
But that and 832 Suffix in 10-pound.
Okay, and cool. Have you had good success with the Dr. Flex?
To be honest, that was my first session using it. Noting how Harry was getting that real reaction bite, I couldn't buy a bite on a soft plastic or really anything else once Harry had hit the front of him. I was finding either skipping it between the pontoons or right at the back. I was getting, once I'd swapped over to that, I was kind of getting really consistent eats and bites.
Mm.
And a lot of fish coming back 2, 3, 4 times, being that soft body.
Yeah, right. Yeah, it's an interesting lure. I think it's a titanium backbone to it.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit heavier, so it kind of casts a little bit better. But then it's just a weird sort of buoyancy about it.
Yeah, I was actually super impressed with it.
Yeah.
In the first session, I didn't think it would kick and swim as well as it did.
Yeah.
I thought it'd be a bit, I guess, doughy in its action, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Being that softer lure, but it was actually very impressive to the point I went out and bought 3 or 4 more after.
Nice. Yeah, like I said, when I said weird buoyancy, I meant that in a good way. It surprised me. So yeah.
But I found the one thing I did find was running the stinger hooks off the middle eyelet. It kind of tangled and hooked into itself a bit more.
Okay.
Than you would with a regular bent minnow.
Okay.
So if I was to do it again, I'd probably double split ring a smaller treble on that middle hook.
Yeah, interesting.
Hang it a bit further away from the body, but also give it just a bit more, I guess, control in where that hook sits.
Yeah.
The retrieve.
Yeah, sounds fair. All right. So for you guys, for third place, what do you take home for third place?
Oh, what was it? It was 150 cash, I believe, and some Baramba lures and a handful of atomic lures as well. I believe it was a Baramba sponsored event.
That's right.
Yeah, so in the morning we got a handful of those Baramba detonator hard bodies, I believe they're called.
Yeah.
The ones with little chin weights on them. They're pretty cool lures. I haven't used them yet. I could probably give them a whirl for the bass, I reckon. I think that'd be pretty cool. But yeah, no, that and just the cash.
Yeah, nice. I know with those chin weights, if you buy the extra packet and load them up, it's so good because you can go from a slow sink to a really fast sink.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's a good idea.
I may or may not have been using them on many various other lures over the past, I guess, couple of weeks since we've gotten them, and it's been working well. It's working really well.
Yeah, it's very, very good. All right. Listen, guys, I reckon that covers all the fishing and what have you. Is there anyone or any companies you want to give a shout out to before we head off?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Rapala VMC for all your support and everything. They're a fantastic company to work for. Yeah, Mick Horne, I work alongside him. He would have been on the podcast just before me. He finished up second with Mel. Them and, just
after you. He's in second.
Just after me. Yes. Oh, we go first. Yeah. No, and just everyone else who supports me. And thanks to Stewie for coming out and watching me how I catch brim.
You mean netting your fish?
Netting, yeah. And being a net boy. Good job.
Yeah, exactly. All right. And do you guys have plans to fish again?
Of course, always fishing with Stewie.
But in a comp.
Yeah, Stewie's got a YouTube channel, The Hunt for Bronze. We do a bit of filming on that one together. We do funny challenges and that sort of stuff, all fishing related in the Brisbane area. So go check that one out. It's the Hunt for Bronze on YouTube and Instagram. Everything. He's been doing a lot in BFS, which is weird and wonderful way to catch fish.
Yep. Definitely. I've got to say the BFS episode that we did here is almost the most popular. It will become the most popular episode. So there you go.
Yes.
All right, guys, I'm going to leave it there. Thank you so much for coming on. And hopefully we get to have a chat before the end of the season.
Sounds good. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, DC.
Okay, if you're in the market for a new fishing kayak or looking to possibly make some upgrades to your existing kayak, or maybe looking at kayak fishing tournaments, then HWS is the place to go. They have a full range of Hobie kayaks, stock the latest kayak accessories, and are really dialed in when it comes to the best kayak fishing setup for the casual fisher and the tournament angler. hws.com.au, online or in store at shop 3/638 Pacific Highway, Belmont. James offers free delivery on Hobie kayaks across all Greater Sydney, Central Coast and Hunter. Now, a couple of things I've still been talking about this for a couple of weeks, and that is my Hobie 360 PA 360 XR. I'm still loving that kayak. We fished Foster on the weekend, which we had not too much wind, but definitely a fair bit of current and what have you. And combined with the power pole on the back and 360, I was able to keep myself off the racks and sort of fishing with a minimum of fuss. So yeah, look, for me, it is the ultimate boat. And once again, I've said, I've had some dramas with it, but everyone has dramas with stuff from time to time. You just got to deal with it. And I'm definitely loving this kayak and looking after it really well. Anyway, if you want one, reach out to James at hws.com.au. I'm sure he'd be happy to take one down and put it in the water, and you can feel how good it is to be able to go in any direction. How good's that? Okay, so coming in a second place, dropping 5 fish for 3.42 with a big brim of 8.24, I have Mick Horne. Welcome back to the show, mate.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for having us on.
Mate, you've had a good little run in the Queensland team series, a nice little fun series to fish.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I've always done it the last few years. Me and my missus, we actually look forward to doing them. We, as you know, I might have said before in the past, we do a lot of other types of fishing, but I still have a bit of a soft spot for bream. And, whenever the fishing gets sort of hard in certain areas or whatever, me and my missus always have bream rods in the boat. We go target them. But obviously coming up to a comp, we'll maybe have 1 or 2 sessions where we'll go and target bream purely. So, yeah.
Yeah, cool. Okay, well, in relation to this one, how'd you go? Did you get out for a pre-fish?
Yeah, because I'm obviously lucky with work. I get to go out in the water during the week and film some stuff and all that kind of stuff. I did go out during the week filming. I was targeting obviously a lot bigger fish, some threadfin, and I noticed there was a lot of prawns around the back of Jacob's Well and Cabbage Tree, like when I put the boat in.
Yeah, right.
So that was sort of like one of the things that I had in my head. I knew that was there. But pre-fish day, Saturday, because we'd been the days that we did go and have we chase a bream, obviously this time of year you got those spawning bream down the mouths of the seaway or jumping pin area. The week before we had a couple of really good sessions, but I really find the run-in tide there towards the top of the tide's a better tide.
Okay.
And we caught some really good fish the week before on that tide, but being this comp, the tide was sort of the other opposite part of the tide. So I knew it was going to be a little bit harder. The water's going to be a little bit dirtier. So Saturday we went up and pretty much fished the front. We caught a lot of fish, but we only caught small fish. So late that afternoon, I made the call to just go around the back and just have a quick look on the way through. And we caught 3 of our biggest fish on the pre-fish around the back. And I pretty much knew then, I said to my missus, we've pretty much got to stick around the back here because this is where I think we're going to get the better fish for this part of the tide.
Yeah, right. And I'm confused because I don't know the area very well. What do you mean by around the back?
So obviously we started at Paradise Point, but I headed up towards the jumping pin. So the jumping pin has like the front section of the river, so the mouth. There's some really good deep water spots up there with obviously like rocky mud bottom and timber and all that sort of stuff. And obviously through spawning time, all the fish go down there. But around the back, it's probably like about 10, 15 or maybe 10 Ks from the mouth are right around the back of the system that starts heading back towards like the Logan and the Pimpamar rivers sort of thing. It goes around. So basically like the back blocks of that whole area.
Sure.
And there's some sort of deep water channels around the back and some deep rock around there as well. But I mainly went around the back because that particular part of the channel, as I said, was full of prawns. The prawns had moved down through Moreton Bay and moved down all the way through to Jacob's Well. So I knew the prawns were there. So that's pretty much why I went round to that area. And I actually fished boat hulls all day.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So being like, for those who don't know, you work for Rapala.
Yep.
And seeing the prawns, what did
Yep.
that make you tie on? What did you tie on after seeing that?
That's pretty much exactly what we did. We fished imposters, both of us fished imposters all day. We fished 2 different colours. Both worked through certain parts of the tide. Like one was a lot sort of like a banana prawn, a real natural looking colour. And that worked at the start, sort of in the morning when the water was a little bit cleaner. As it dirtied up, we started fishing like a little bit darker colours, so your motor oils, sort of that kind of thing. And we had actually like a milk run. I just kept going through, rotating sort of 10 or 15 boats. So we hit them early in the morning. I'd leave them for an hour or two, and we'd go back. And I seemed to keep picking off. We kept picking off fish off the boats. Once we left them, we'd leave them for a while. We'd go back, and it's like obviously when you're in the area where there's fish, you'd catch a fish, and packs of 10 or 15 fish would come out with one fish. So
wow.
It was a pretty cool way to obviously just work out what they were doing and sort of leave them alone for a little bit and go back to them. So
yeah, very cool. And just one more thing I got confused on there. Was that all in pre-fish day? Or
no, on the pre-fish day, as I said, we went down the front. I fished the jerk, Crush City the jerk down there in that deep water. But it was only in that afternoon on the Saturday I worked out the prawns and that prawn pattern.
Yeah.
So the comp day, we pretty much had imposters tied on a couple of rods in a few different colours, and we fished them pretty light. So they were only sort of like skipping them into the boat hulls and just letting them really slowly waft down underneath the hull and let the current pull them under the boats pretty much.
Nice. And what, with your colours, what sort of prompted you to change colours? Was it just sort of, this one hasn't worked for a while, try another one? Or?
Yeah, and water clarity too. Like some of those early in the morning, the tide was like, I think it was like high tide at about 5 in the morning. So the water, it's quite funny, Some around the back there, it can actually be a little bit dirtier on the high tide. And as the water drops off into the channels, it actually cleans up sometimes. So it's quite bizarre. It's like as I said, I do other types of fish. Floody fishing can be really good around there on the bottom of the tide because the water actually is cleaner in the channels. So it's similar to where I was. There's a lot of real shallow mangroves and basically like little feeder creeks and things that go around the back of islands. And, on high tide, they're only got like 3 foot of water, 2 foot of water on them, and all those drain off to where the boats are sitting in the channel close by. So as it gets lower, the fishing does get better because obviously all the bait comes off, and a lot of those fish, some of those really big fish sit in some of those hulls with no water under them. There's hardly any water under those boat hulls, and that's when the fishing can be real good.
Yeah, right.
I think Chris Lonnie fished the Queensland Open last year. He actually had a chat to me after it, and he asked me about a particular boat, and I laughed and I said, "That's the one we got all our fish off," and that's the one he won his comp off the year before. So, and I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So
yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, it was a boat that, again, as I said, it had like a foot of water under it.
Yeah, it's not the first time I've been told that about that sort of area. So I think Morgo talked about it.
Mm.
All right. Throughout the day, how'd you go? Did you get a heap of, was it all day thing, or did they come in spits and spurts or waves?
Yeah, it was, first off, we got a few really good fish early, but then we caught a lot of fish during the day, but there was a lot of fish around the same size. And then, there was just certain periods of the day where as I said, we'd rotate a few of the boats, and if you left them alone, you went back, you might go back and get another upgrade or something like that. We didn't get all the fish particularly straight up in the morning. We just worked through a lot of the same size fish, but every now and then we'd pick off one which is maybe 20 grams heavier or something. I got a set of those Rapala scales, so, I obviously set them up. So as soon as I catch me 5, I can see which is the smallest. And I think we had 610 was our smallest, and we just caught a lot around 600, So it was just waiting to get one bigger than 610 sort of thing.
Exactly. And it looks like you got one that was 8.24. Do you remember who got that one?
Oh, standard. My missus gets all the big fish.
Fair enough.
No matter what type of fishing we do, she always seems to pick off the better ones, which I don't mind in a team's comp.
In a team's comp, it's good.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. All right, I think that covers it. The only thing I didn't ask specifically is what sort of jig heads you putting in them?
So we were just running a 112. Because it's a little bit bigger plastic as well, and I do it a lot in all my, more so I don't do it in my fun fishing, but any tournament fishing, I always run stingers.
Okay.
So I just tied I think it was like a 10, 1/12, and I run basically 20-pound braid to a little single stinger on the back part of the tail. And obviously there's certain parts of the day when the fish are a bit more active, they'll definitely eat that front hook, but you do catch a lot of fish on that stinger.
Yeah.
So I always, as I said, in a tournament, I've always got to sit down and tie 10 or 15 stingers on all different size jig heads. And wherever I'm fishing them, I always run one, because that one could actually be your kicker that you might just get in the lip or something like that on the stinger.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's really interesting. And look, one more thing before we move off. What sort of lines and leaders were you running?
So I was just running, we've got 131. We had a couple of rods with that on it in like 4 pound and 2 pound with just a 6 pound leader in that Suffix and Busy line. And then we've got a new line, Eggy line. So it's a 8 carrier, but it's really thin diameter for its pound. So like 17 pound is basically equivalent to 2 pound 131. So it's real thin. So we've been using that a fair bit. But the thing I like about 131, it's real, because it's a 13 carrier, it's quite round. It casts really good.
Mm-hmm.
So, obviously you don't really have to punch them too hard to skip them up in under the bowl, if you got a cat or a boat, you can skip it in pretty easily. So, but yeah, mainly, so as I said, 2 4 pound in the 131 and 6 pound leader.
Yeah, nice. All right. So in any case, that was enough to bring you guys home in second place. What did you get to take home for second place? Do you remember?
I think it's $350, I think, something like that.
Yeah.
So, not too bad for, as I said, I just really like this sort of the social aspect of it as well. Like I'd sort of, obviously help with work. I get to go and do some of the ABT tournaments, which I'm looking forward to doing the Tweed and Richmond coming up in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, nice.
But I just, as I said, I don't consider myself one of the gun brim anglers out there, but I do like going and fishing, all those sort of things, because as I said, it's quite a social event, and Craig does a good job of running them, and most of the guys that fish them, we all know each other, and there's good banter there. There's no real angst with anyone there, so it's cool.
Yeah, very good. And one last thing, mate, before we shoot off, is anyone you want to give a shout out to or say thank you to?
Obviously, I work for Rapala, so obviously all the product I use with them, Humminbird look after us with the sounders, and that's pretty much it.
Very good. All right, mate. That was a great rundown. Thanks for coming on the show. And, mate, I will talk to you again soon.
Okay, no worries, mate. Thank you.
Okay, so Podium Marine Wraps, they are fast becoming the go-to place to get your boat, yacht, kayak, or what have you wrapped. So, look, if you're looking to make your boat stand out in the water, Podium Marine Wraps specializes in high-quality custom design wraps that not only elevate the appearance of your boat, but also provide an essential layer of protection. These wraps safeguard against scratches, UV damage, and general wear and tear, helping to maintain the boat's pristine condition and increasing its resale value. Podium Marine Wraps offer fast turnaround times, often completing wraps in just one day. This means a quick service means that boat owners can spend less time waiting and more time enjoying their boats. So whether it's a full wrap, half wrap, or custom decal, Podium Marine Wraps offers a fully customizable design to suit any vision. They also collaborate with Fishresk Graphics, providing exclusive designs that are as unique as they are eye-catching. Podium Marine Wraps ensures that every boat has the chance to shine, whether at the dock or on the water or in fishing tournaments. Their wraps are fully designed to withstand the tough conditions of the marine environment, ensuring long-lasting beauty and protection. Visit podiummarinewraps.com.au to view their gallery of past projects, get inspired, or request a quote. Podium Marine Wraps is committed to giving every boat the standout look it deserves. So look, if you're looking for something like that, just jump on the website, have a look, shoot Corey a message. His email and phone number's there, and I'm sure he'll take care of you. Okay, so coming in first place, we've got a couple of regulars on the show now, dropping 5 fish for 3.53, which included the big bream of 974 grams. I've got Chris, Lon and Jacob Kelly. Welcome back, guys.
Cheers, Deethy. Good to be having a chat again.
Definitely. It seems like you're only just here just a moment ago.
It does, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, there you go. All right. So with this one, you came up with the win. So you must be pretty happy with that, guys.
Yeah, it's been a few close finishes this year. I think we've had a second and a third. But yeah, stoked to finally grab the win.
And currently, where are you guys sitting on the leaderboard?
That's a good question because we did miss a round. So I think most teams have got 4 rounds worth of points. And so I think we might be in like around 10 or 11 or something like that.
Okay. 10 or 11, but with a round down.
Yeah, yep.
Oh, that's pretty good. All right. Let's get into this one. So tell us about, did you get a chance to have a pre-fish leading up to the event?
Yeah, so we got out, we had a couple of pre-fishes, I guess, because we had the Queensland Open that was 2 weeks before that comp. And then we had another social comp that was a weekend before. So we sort of able to, well, we had a pretty decent idea as to where the fish were going to be. Even though that was sort of changing, like into more of that winter pattern, we were sort of able to sort of just, keep track of them, I guess.
Yeah, right. And so leading into this, like you guys have, from the previous episodes, a bit of crankbait, bit of crabs, bit of plastics. What was in your mind leading into this?
Yeah, usually down the coast we do a bit of everything. But yeah, this time of year we're definitely sort of leaning towards that deep bite. We had mainly I think crabs and heavier sort of plastics like grubs and stuff rigged. Maybe a couple of like Camsons just in case we decided to crank a hull or crank some pontoons or something.
Fair enough. All right. So let's get into comp day. First of all, tell us about what the weather was like for the day and then how you went about catching your fish.
Yeah, it was a bit of a cloudy day to start, I think, wasn't it, Chris? And then it fined up. Wasn't too windy.
Yeah. There wasn't like an offshore wind, but we didn't really see much of it.
Yeah, so comfortable conditions is probably what I was looking to find out.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's
all right. And then moving into the fishing, let's start with who got the first fish. Do you remember? If you remember.
Yeah, I think we went to your first spot, Chris, and I think you got a couple, and then I think I got one decent one, and we did a couple laps, and I guess we got our bag there.
Yeah, we started on a little bit of shallower rock because the tide was still up. I think that's right, we did actually start with crankbaits. So I forgot that when you asked me which lures we used. We did start with crankbaits on a shallower bit of rock. Just, ran some cranks over it. And, got our bag pretty quickly. I think it was, would have been sort of 30 minutes, half an hour, something like that.
Yeah, so good start to the day. And for that sort of area, what sort of crankbaits do you like?
I think I was running the EXDRs ever since the Hawkesbury, trying them out for the first time after hearing how snagless they are. You can literally run those things through anything. We were running them through cracks in rocks and they'd still pop out. And, you think for like a 3.5 meter diving lure, you'd think that would just snag up. But, yeah, it does great.
Yeah, wicked lures, those spikes.
Nice. And you're able to bag out early on, which is always pretty good. Was there any size in your bag?
Nah, not really, to be honest. I think Jake got one that was maybe like 29 fork or something, 28, 29 fork. But the rest of it was sort of tippers, like 25, 26 forkers.
Okay, cool. All right. Having said that, early bag's always good. Where'd you move on from there?
So we just headed to like a deeper sort of rocky area that's fairly close by to there. And it was a spot that I'd fished in the open, and there's a couple of decent sized boulders there where you can see the fish set up on live scope. And pretty similar to the last interview when we were talking about, we were sort of just using the live scope to focus on where we could see the fish sitting, and then just more or less chasing them around. Like they'd change positions with the tide and sit on different rocks or different areas. And we'd pretty much we'd scan around till we find them and then pepper them with casts and catch them.
Catch them. So are you able to see, like if you've got a boulder, so you can see whether they're sitting on the top of it, halfway down it or right on the bottom, that sort of setup?
Yeah, 100%. Usually you tend to just sort of see them, from what I can gather, the brim sort of move erratically. So you can see them moving up and down all around the structure. But yeah, you can definitely see them as well when they're positioning on top of the rock as well, yeah.
Yeah, nice. in this second spot, did you get some upgrades happening?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we upgraded multiple times. I can't really remember. We caught a lot of fish actually. We probably got 20 or 30 fish at this next spot. It was decent schooling bite, and I think we got our bags somewhere. It would have been somewhere around that sort of 2.8-ish mark from memory, which we were happy with, but we were sort of like, it's not going to be enough to win. So we just sort of decided, it was a bit of a gamble, but we decided to head out to the pin and sort of leave those fish. The bite had slowed a fair bit though, but it was still a bit of a gamble because you'd still get the occasional fish there.
Yeah, fair enough. Okay, so when you say gamble, how far is it? How much time does it take to get to the pin?
From that spot, it's not really that long. It's sort of like 15-ish minutes maybe.
Okay, so you're not burning hours.
Nah, it's not hours or anything, but it's, I sort of just, to get back from where we were, you got to go through a massive 6-knot zone. So that chews into your fishing time as well. And so it's sort of, once you get out to the pin, I didn't really want to be coming back to that Jacob's Well area. But I mean, we had said as well, like if it is not good out of the pin, we will come back.
Fair enough. All right, tell us how you went at the pin.
I think we got to the pin around, I reckon it would have been 11:30. So we're just thinking, we have an hour just to spot hop and find some fish. And we fished a few of the banks that we know have held fish in previous years, and it was pretty quiet. So we went back to one of Lonnie's spots that, he did well. I think, was it last year? Yeah. And we found him out way wider, which was interesting. Usually they're hugging the edge kind of on that first drop off, but we just kind of threw a few speculator casts out deep, and that's kind of how we found them there.
Right. Okay. So what do you throw at them out deep?
Well, we couldn't actually see them on live scope and like traditional sonar because they were just hugging those sand undulations. So I think those casts that we did, we just managed to kind of get a few bites to commit us to that spot. And I guess we just drifted that channel section. And I think it was just grubs mainly, Chris.
Yeah, I think we're just running the quarter-ounce grubs, quarter-ounce. I think you were running a slim swim, from memory. Bloodworm slim swim.
Yeah, I definitely love those slim swims. They're definitely, it's taken me years to use them, but they've definitely been quite productive this year, especially with all the prawns around late in the year. And, Mimic's a bait fish, but also a prawn. So.
And the Jewies love them too, eh?
Yeah, the Jewies. I was the king of the bycatch that day. Yeah, got a 80-centimetre Jewie on 5-pound.
Nice.
I'm the worst Jewie fisherman with Jewie gear, but as soon as I put brim gear on, they're all over it.
Look out.
Yeah, fair enough. It's funny, I don't mind catching during a brim comp. It's not your favourite thing, typically.
No. When it first loaded up, I thought, this is a good brim, and you can't mistake a Jewie head shake. Like, I have caught a few of them, and through a brim rod, it's pretty obvious what's happening.
Yeah, fair.
And I kind of just said to Chris, just keep fishing. Like, I know it's a Jewie, I'll just keep playing it out. I was even trying to go hard on it to bring it up, but it was just pinned perfectly, like just in the tip of the lip pretty much. So it was pretty lucky.
Fair enough. All right. And is that where you guys finish your day out? Actually, there's a big brim we're going to talk about too. But is that where you finish your day at the pin?
Yeah, we were lucky enough because we started getting a good few bites. I think it was the next fish after he'd caught that Jewie. That was when I got the big brim, and we were thinking, oh no, it's going to be another Jewie. Like, we've come across a little school of Jewies, but thankfully enough, it was a brim just under a kilo. So we're pretty stoked about that.
Yeah. And what did it replace? Like, how much did your bag jump up with that?
I think we may have got like a 31 forker when we first got to the pin, and then 31 or a 32, and then we got the 34. So the 34 would have replaced like a 27 forker or something like that, 28 forker.
Yeah, that's the win right there.
Yeah. It was sort of just, when we got to the pin, I was sort of like to Jake, I was like, oh, it's an uphill battle because it's not really just one big bite that we need. We need a consecutive good few bites. And I don't know, luckily enough, we had a good run of fish that came through, and they were all good sized fish.
Yeah. And with the big one, was he hooked well or is it a sketchy hookup?
No, he was hooked pretty well from memory. Yeah, he was pinned pretty well. And yeah, we took it pretty easy on him, and yeah, it was worked out well.
Oh, very good. All right. So just before we move off the fishing, what sort of lines and leaders were you running for the weekend or for the day?
I was running that new Daiwa Expedition braid. Heard all the guys at Daiwa talk about it, and yeah, sure enough, bought a couple spills and used it a handful of times. But yeah, really good stuff. Just I think 10 pound. I don't even go thinner than 10 pound these days. I think you can get enough bite detection and visibility with 10 pound. Doesn't seem to hinder anything, and then just like a 5 pound leader.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. How you can run a really heavy braid and then put a lighter leader on it. It still works nicely.
Yeah, definitely.
And Chris, what about yourself, mate?
Yeah, I'm just running 10 pound atomic braids at the moment, and we won a heap of it last year throughout the QTS, and yeah, I love it. I haven't had any issues with it at all. Yeah, I'm just running the 10 pound and 6 pound FC Rock leader.
Perfect. All right, very cool, guys. All right. In any case, that was enough to give you guys the win and Big Bream. So do you remember what you got to take home for this one?
I think it was... I can never remember how much.
Yeah, your trophy room's too big, isn't it?
Do you remember how much it was? Was it like $600 or something?
Yeah, I think that sounds about right. And you got some Black Hops beer. Which is
the Black
great
Hops beer
sponsor.
for Big Bream. That was happy day. That was awesome. Yeah, such a good beer.
Very good. And for Big Bream, do you take home a prize for that?
Yeah, that was the beer. Yeah, that's the only reason I go bream fishing is to get beer.
It's a fair trade.
Beer, yeah.
And what brand was it again?
Black Hops. They sponsor it. Joel McKenzie, who fishes the series, he works for them. So yeah, he's got them to sponsor the Big Bream prize. So yeah.
Very good. Make a lot of guys happy.
Yeah, exactly.
All right. That's another great rundown, guys. Before we head off, who would you like to give a shout out to for this one?
I'd like to thank Chris, of course. Yeah, we've been fishing together for a couple of years now. We have an awesome time. And yeah, a couple wins, which has been good, but yeah, always a good time. And Baramba Lures, Atomic, and yeah, Black Ops Brewery for sponsoring a few rounds. And Rapala as well, I believe. They're sponsoring one too. So yeah, It's really changed the series having all these sponsors jump on board.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose we can't forget Craig either. I say it every time, but yeah. Craig does an unreal job.
Yeah.
He organises it from day dot and sets up the weigh-in, sorts everything out. And yeah, it's just it wouldn't be the same without him. He's definitely changed the series. So
100%.
Very good, guys. All right, guys. Well, look, congratulations again for taking out the win, and hopefully there's another one in the pipeline for you, and we'll get you right up there at the end of the year. Thanks again.
Fingers crossed, Deethy. Cheers.
Yep. Cheers, Deethy.
All right. So there you have it, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that one. Now, as the new Bream Fishing Project Collective rolls out, these episodes that are pre-recorded should go out to those guys just a little bit earlier and out to the general public just kind of the way they flow out. So anyway, if you're interested in getting onto them earlier or interested in getting involved in the Bream Fishing Project Collective, just check the link. It's on Facebook. It's in the bio on Instagram, and it's also in the show notes for every episode moving forward. So if that's something you're looking to do, please get on that, and we'd love to have you aboard. All right, so I'm going to leave it there for everybody. Thank you so much for being here, and I will talk to you next week on the Bream Fishing Project.
Thanks for listening. Hopefully you were informed, inspired and entertained. If you were able to learn something or just enjoyed listening, please consider subscribing and rate us on your favourite podcasting platform.